Jefferson Robbins for NCW Life. The city of Chelan had 4 people in the primary running for the seat of mayor. There's only 2 candidates left. One of them joins me now. He's the incumbent mayor, Bob Goedde. Thanks a lot for being here, Bob.
I appreciate the invitation.
And you've been mayor for 3 non-consecutive terms.
That's true.
Over about the last 18 years, is that right?
Well, from 95, more like 20, because I had some vacation time in between there, between my council terms, those 2, and then 4 years between the last 2 mayor terms.
And so you've seen Chelan as it's grown and changed over the last couple of decades. Can you describe Chelan as if you were describing it to someone who's never been there?
I would say have the opportunity to come to a neat little lakeside village that hasn't changed much since 1965. It looks like it is. The ambiance is small town, Eastern Washington. Come ask us a question. You say hi to everybody you meet on the street. Enjoy our restaurants. We probably have one of the most unique hardware stores with Kelly's.
Do you think that Chelan is a walkable city? Because it draws a lot of tourists. Can you get around on foot easily enough?
Actually, one of the times I do a lot of questions, and I had a gentleman from the RV park I was talking to, and he says, you know what? He says, it's a lot of money to stay at the RV park, but this is the only RV park. I can walk downtown. There's wineries, there's restaurants, there's a marina. It's walkable.
As you seek this new term, what in the last 4 years have you wanted to get across that you couldn't, that you feel like is achievable if you're elected again here in 2023?
I want to make it apparent that that one-way bridge experiment is not working, and I had a lot of lineups 4 years ago, and then along came COVID, and it just cuts the communication strings. We did Zoom, but some of those people were more relationships at the restaurants and other places that I participate in. Well, that all went away. And it took, 2.5 years to kind of get sorted back out and have a meeting. So that, and to make sure that the state doesn't make it 1 lane each way for bicycle lanes up Wooden Avenue. That's 2 state highways coming together. We presently have an opportunity to have Widener put in 284 apartments at Apple Blossom Center, the Walmart Plaza. We need those 2 lanes.
And so this is the Wooden Avenue Bridge. This is the main choke point between one side of the lake shore and getting to downtown.
Yeah, they did a survey, question of the day on Cozy Radio, totally unofficial, I got all that. The question of the day was, should the bridge be 1-way or 2-way? And over 400 people called in. I have the list, the names. 396 said make it 2-way. To come in from all the North Shore, and Mansfield will eventually have more people living out there than we do, just got more built Airborough. It's only going to get worse until we figure out we need another exit, and the easiest one is to make that bridge both ways.
How has the population of Chelan changed in the last couple of years?
Not a heck of a lot. We're anywhere from 42 to I think are 46 something now, and then that also gets into effect when we get to 5,000. We lose a lot of our little small town credibility with state funding and that sort of thing. So I'm not anxious to run in and make it 5,000.
Are you finding that second home ownership patterns have changed in the last couple of years? Say during the pandemic, more people coming to stay?
Well, that's the surprising part. During COVID, our sales taxes went up, everything went up. And I think that was a fact. Even if you had kids in school, they had to Zoom it. They could Zoom it from Chelan. I think that the short-term rental thing got to be more a long-term rental thing. I think that it makes it so much more difficult for a local to buy a house when somebody can, say, 3 people put money in and buy a house, tear it down, and put in a cabin they can use in the summertime. Even in the residential areas, our people can't afford $500,000 for double wide. So in essence, we've been working with the county, and they have a piece of property we want to take over, change it over to affordable housing, and then work with the Department of Commerce through the Housing Authority and the Housing Trust to get some affordable housing out there.
How are you addressing those housing needs in Chelan? I mean, what do you need to have happen for your community?
For housing?
Yes, sir.
Dirt. We just recently, the Housing Trust up there is building a 6-plex, and they have swapped property around with the community center, and they have 9 acres out near the warehouses, which originally was going to be housing, and then it switched over from the Chelan River Irrigation District, City of Chelan. That's currently going back. That we're in the works with that, and we have water, but we have no wastewater. And we went out and discussed the issue with Chelan Fresh, and they've offered us the right of way over their piece of property to get to our sewer line, so we don't have to put in a big grinder booster pump. And so that's going to help. It's also going to help them if they decide to put in workforce housing.
Workforce housing being the key, people being able to live and work in the place that they're employed.
Yeah.
Chelan has problems with that, like other
I think
cities
it's
do.
Leavenworth and Chelan, like I said, will tag that up. Carl Floria and I don't remember his last name, Ray from Friday Harbor, have been working the legislature to get an additional 2% on top of the lodging tax strictly for affordable housing infrastructure. I would like to be part of that.
Have you developed a philosophy, Bob, of how to run a city? I mean, what's your approach? What's the thing you start from?
I think my approach is to hire the best people you can, give them a little bit of advice, and stay out of their way. I think that's worked well. We have a tremendous staff. Look at our city. The streets are great. Everything's good shape. And that's because we turn them loose. They know what to do. They're dedicated to the city. And I think that's the biggest thing. I do a lot of idea stuff. I sit through about 2 hours every day on the internet looking for grants and that sort of thing, even though we have a grant writer, just to see what's out there.
How has Chelan changed since you first joined the leadership of the city?
I don't think it's changed a tremendous amount since I've been there. I think that maybe the last 4 years, because of everybody moving into town, the short-term rentals, the summer homes. But I grew up, I've been here since 1946. It was kind of like Maryberry, USA, and now it's kind of like Sun Valley, Idaho. And that's the difficult part of finding people to work. Some of the restaurants don't even run double shifts because they don't have people to work.
Do they identify housing? Do those restaurants say housing is our problem? We need people who can live here?
That seems to be it, but I kind of have this feeling that there's a lot of people that just don't want to work. And if you look at the amount of available people out there that are working, it's not a good sign. But in the same thing, I'm on the Link Transit Board, and there was enough people at Waterville, Mansfield, they were seriously thinking about running a route from there into Chelan to help supply Campbell. I understand Campbell has people live out there. So I guess in the other essence, no, I'm not sure if everybody wants to live in Chelan and put up with stuff we do with overrun the Safeway and Walmart and all the traffic and all the noise. So I'm not sure if you work there, you necessarily want to live there when Link Transit provides a heck of a deal to come into Chelan and get out and not have to fight with the traffic.
As mayor, are you ever asked to kind of mediate problems that arise from the tourism that comes to Chelan? I mean, that puts a strain on infrastructure. That's more cars on your bridge. That's more waste to be disposed of. How do you balance out tourism, which drives the city, with the needs of those folks who are living there?
Well, I think that we doubled our sales taxes in those 5 years. We need to take that money that we're getting off the tourist industry and focus some of it into our locals. Like our baseball field has some area behind it. We'd like to develop a community park out of the range of the tourists. I mean, the Don Morse is great, but on weekends you can pretty much forget going down there because that's where it's at. I think that's what we need to do, and I think that we've pretty much mellowed out. When I was a kid, tourist was a 4-letter word, and they've mellowed quite a bit. I worked as a police officer in the 90s when I got treed. Those people aren't here anymore, thank God.
Were you a City of Chelan police officer?
I was reserve and I was dispatcher for 3 years. Funnest part was driving a portable jail. It breaks up a chaos in a real hurry when they roll up with a van with bars on it.
It had its own police department up until a
did.
certain point when it joined.
It did. That was a tough call. Most of it came down is because Rivercom came to action and the state said we're not giving 2 911 systems in one county. So there went the dispatch money. So that dispatch and jailer were the same person. So if you don't have a dispatcher, you can't front a jailer off that amount of money. If you don't have a jailer, you got to transport to Wenatchee, and it's like, okay, it's added up here. The county has, over the period of time, has gotten real well at doing what we need to do.
The Imagine Downtown study that just happened, I know Chelan downtown is dear to your heart. So when that study came out, what did that tell you, and what can you take from it that the city can put into action?
Well, I think some of the things that are doable is our tree system sucks, that we need to do different trees in different styles. I think that the idea that the consultant said, and there's some movement to make 16-foot sidewalks, that would clear our street down to where it wouldn't work for what we do. Right now, we allow the semis to unload the products for the Main Street personnel in the dead center of the road. And I think people realize that's an inconvenience, but it's not that big a problem. Then we are looking at the angle of the streets right now. If you have a crew cab big pickup, you can hardly back out of a parking spot without going across the yellow lines. So by changing those angles, I think that's going to help that. I think that the different planners and everything we're talking about that the park maintain, I think that the other one finally realized, you know, the greatest majority of the participants said leave the sidewalks alone. And I think that's where we need to be. It kind of is like a mall parking lot. People get out of their car, and if they're on the north side, some on the south side, they don't walk the crosswalk, they just walk across the road. And the last time I checked, there were no pedestrian automobile accidents on Wooden Avenue. So I guess we all drive 10 miles an hour with a foot on the brake.
So you don't seem to need anything like traffic calming, like roundabouts, like we see in some other towns.
Well, traffic calming is right back down to our good old bridge. That's a 10-foot wide bridge. DOT tells me a 10-foot bridge is safer than 11, 11's safer than a 12. So I think that brings in, right now, those people come across that one-lane bridge about 30 miles an hour because they can. You narrow it to 10 and they don't think they can drive a 7-foot car in a 10-foot street. So that's what traffic calm's all about. The other suggestion was to put in 2 roundabouts, one at the post office and one on Saunders leading to the stoplight, and that would correct the problem. No, that's not the solution. You're working on the problem. Let's do the cause, and we can't get out of town on the other end.
There's a lot of attention on Lake Chelan, which is part of the things that makes the town of Chelan special. You have that beautiful lake. People want to come for that experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's movements to keep it blue, to keep invasive species out, to keep pollution to a minimum. What's the city's role in that? Are you partnering on that effort?
We do. We pay a certain amount of money. I can't remember exactly what the name of the group is. And he comes in and gives us updates. I think it's absolutely essential that we do boat inspections. Another thing we need to do is talk to some of the lakeshore ownership and say, you know, you got a nice green lawn, but that leaches into the lake. If that fuzzy green stuff on your pipelines out there is your cause, and we need to make that much more known.
What do you think, Bob, is the best course for Chelan in 2024 and beyond?
Stay the course. Our history is our future. People come because it is what it is, and it should stay that way.
Bob Goedde, incumbent mayor of Chelan, thanks very much for being here today.
Thank you.
You're watching the NCW Life channel.